Julie, you guys all doing well today? Good morning.
Doing great.
Happy Friday. So today we have special guest, Jackie McKelvin. Good morning, Jackie. How are you?
I'm doing so great, Tom. Thanks. I'm not skiing today. So I'm not as great as you, yet I'm doing great.
Awesome. Well, if you could share a little bit about yourself and then our content, and we'll rock and roll. Go ahead, Jackie.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Jackie McKelvin. Got in the business in about 2014, closed about 21 units my first year. In 40, my second year, they asked me to lead the office of another brokerage, at which at first I said, no, thank you. And then I said, yes, a year later. So definitely was a challenging position and broke through the ceiling of that and became the top leader in our region in net agent growth. So, you know, some of the concepts that we're talking about today were so foundational to my success all along the way. And it's about handling objections. And so I'd love it if you guys took some notes. We're going to have you join in a little bit later, and we can talk about maybe some of the objections you're facing that maybe you could use some help on. So please, please, please get your pencil and paper, your pen and paper out and start to take some notes. So the first thing I want to talk about is looks like Amanda, can you mute yourself? There you go. We need to talk about why is this such an important topic, because it's so foundational to your success. And I would say, number one, you have to expect that an objection is going to happen. It is part of the business. Very rarely are you going to walk up to someone needing to sell their home, ask for an appointment, get to the appointment and do your presentation, and they just gladly sign. Right? They're gonna come up with several objections. And you developing the skill on what to say when they object is going to be part of your success. And I want to just say, when you face an objection and you don't get to your goal for that conversation, like get a listing, get an appointment, whatever that is, guys, all that means is you didn't handle the objection effectively. That's all it means. So what that really truly means is go back to the drawing board and sharpen your saw, sharpen your skills so you can handle it better next time and get to that goal of that signed listing or that appointment set. Typically, you guys, I take 90% of the listings that I go on when I go on an appointment. Now, 90%, now not all of them, and I would say maybe even not many of them are warm contacts, right? Someone that's reselling with me or a great referral. Most of the time, I'm competing with other agents and I take 90% of it. Now, I'm not saying that so that you'll be impressed with me, because please don't be impressed with me. It's only that I have sharpened my skill set. That's all. That's the only difference. So that's number one, is expect an objection. And let's get real. You're going to get them. And all it means if you don't meet your goal is that you just haven't sharpened your skill enough. Okay. Second, your natural abilities. And you guys, I think everyone on this call has some great natural abilities in relationship building, in talking to people. I know several of you, I know you guys have great skill sets. And I will say your natural abilities will only take you so far. It'll only take you so far, and that you're going to hit a ceiling of achievement. And the best way I know how to illustrate this is in high school, or when in middle school, I started The first time I ever touched a basketball was in 7th grade. I remember dribbling the first time, you know how that probably looked. And I'll say that I probably had some natural abilities. And by the time I was a sophomore, I was starting on the varsity team and I was getting recognition for all state and all region and all conference. So that was by a sophomore. But you guys, I had not learned this lesson yet, because by the time I was a senior, I wasn't even starting at all. So what had happened is I had reached my natural ceiling of achievement, and I didn't understand the concept to continue to grow and improve and break through. And I hit that ceiling and I couldn't do any better. And everybody else around me grew more. The same is true in real estate and in objection handling. You're going to probably be able to handle some of the objections just by your natural abilities, but it's not going to get you fully to where you want to go. And so one of the most important skills to learn in this business is overcoming objections and in learning and improving on your scripts. Yes or yes? Yes. Okay. So, you know, one of my focuses is listing. So we're going to talk about some scripts today. And first, I need to talk about the 4-step kind of framework. When you go to have a conversation, and when you are talking to a buyer or a seller, and you present something like, let's get together and set you up for success, or I'd love to have you just sign this listing agreement right now, right? Whatever your goal is in that conversation, you're gonna know you're gonna get an objection. Okay, so there's 4 steps, and I want you to write this down. You need to kind of filter every objection handling through this 4-step process. Number 1, you want to affirm them. When they say, I'm a buyer, and you said, let's get together, let me set you up for success. And they're like, oh, I don't need to buy for 6 months, right? So the first thing is affirm them and agree with them. Get on their side of the camp and just agree, affirm them. Oh, I absolutely can understand why you think, why you would say that. And then the second step is isolate. And you guys, I'm telling you that this may feel a little uncomfortable to you, but it's so key. Isolate. So Joe, other than, you need to buy you want to buy in 6 months, don't want to get together yet, is there any other reason why you wouldn't get together with me this week? Isolate it and find out if there is any other reason behind it. And so if he says, no, I really, it's too early to get together. And then the next step is handle it. Handle that objection. So now the primary thing is that it's just too early. So now you want to handle it. There is an incredible book. If you haven't read it, I encourage you to get it. It's called Exactly What to Say. Exactly What to Say. I don't know if anybody's ever read that, but I took what he calls the magic words. And you can say the same thing. And if you say it with these magic words, as he calls it, you will be more effective. So as I'm talking about some objection handlers, you're going to hear some magic words, and it's from that book, you guys. And so one of the magic words or phrases, they're little phrases, and all you got to memorize is the phrase. So you might handle it with some of those magic words. So maybe in that case, you could say, what most people do, magic words, is they are so glad they got together with me early because I set them up for success for when the time was right, they were ready to go. Another magic word is, a magic phrase is, what concerns me about that? Right? Just a magic phrase. What concerns me about that is if we were to wait and then we finally get together And then we find out that there's some work that you have to do, and it may take you another 6 months to complete that. What I don't want you to do is wait too long. What most people do is they're so glad they got together with me early. So that's the third thing. So affirm, isolate, handle the objection, and then go for the close. How about Tuesday or Wednesday? Does 2 or 4 sound better, right? You go for the close. And so most of the time you got to work that objection within that framework, and you'll be more successful. Now, what I want to chat about is I was pretty listing focused. And another key in all of this is when I would set a listing appointment, I never got to 90% of listings taken until I did this. And that's call the seller and do some pre-qualifying. So I set the appointment. I might give them a call a couple hours later or early the next day. And I would just say, hey, Joe, I want to be the most prepared for our time together. So I just have a couple of questions. You got 5 minutes? Sure. So I'm going to ask some questions, and you guys, what I'm doing is I'm trying, there's many goals to this, but what I'm doing is I'm uncovering what might be some objections at the listing appointment. So I might ask, Joe, are you interviewing any other agents? And he says, yes, which most of the time it's yes, you guys. I'm telling you, my listing appointments are in a very competitive environment. So yes, awesome, I'll tell him. Actually, who else are you interviewing? Because I know all the great ones out there. And I just want the names, because I'm going to do some research, because based on who else he's interviewing, I might know what some objections might be. Right? They might be interviewing a Redfin agent. What might an objection be? Anybody? What might an objection be from the seller? What's that?
The rate.
Commission.
1% rate for Redfin.
Right? Absolutely. I'm going to be dealing with that objection when I get to that appointment. If he says, oh yeah, I'm interviewing June Smith, and I look later on, I look June Smith up, and I find out she's done 10 times the business I'm doing. Right? I know what I'm going to say when I get there. I'm getting prepared to handle the objection. I might ask Joe, what are the most important things to you about selling your home? Some people are interested in the price. Most people are some people are really interested in who buys the house, and some people are interested in the timing. What about you? What's the most important thing? So I'm covering what might be my conversation. And guys, this is the key for what I did to up my game, is I literally put the objection handlers in the presentation. I put the objection handlers that I was pretty sure I was going to face in the actual presentation. So when the objection came up, now we're talking about it the second time, and it's not the first time. Remember one time I did a listing appointment, and that was the story. They were interviewing another agent who was killing it in that community, in that subdivision. I mean, she dominated. And one thing I said was, well, what concerns me about that when I got there is that sometimes some agents are so busy, they're going to hand you off to their team, right? I'm just positioning it so it's more favorable to me. And you deserve someone to take you from start to finish, to lock arms with you, and to move forward. And it's because I knew what was going to come up at the listing appointment that I handled that in advance. And guess what, guys? I took the listing. And she did like a ton more business than me. And guess what? Guess what happened? This other agent, great agent, great person. I'm not going to disparage anyone, great person. She walked in with her assistant and had her assistant take the notes. So that really worked. It's interesting. Okay. So you want to, if you're listing focused, you want to pre-qualify them, and you're going to uncover the objections in the actual pre-qualifying, so you can handle them in the presentation. And that really has helped me to up my game. You know, I might also ask in that pre-qualifying conversation is, what's the most important thing to you about a listing agent? What's the most important thing? And they might say your communication. Well, guess what's going to show up at that listing appointment? It's communication. I'm going to communicate beforehand, during, and after. That's going to show up. And so those are just a couple of tips on that. So one thing I want to do, let's just talk about a couple of objections, and then I want to open it up and let's talk about, because I think we can learn so much more from each other than me just going on and on and on. And but let me talk about a couple of objections. So as I model this, I'm not going to do the 4 things. So we've already talked, right? I'm going to affirm them. I'm going to isolate and say, is there, other than that, is there anything else that would keep you from doing this, right? And then I'm going to handle it, and then I'm going to close. So we talked a little bit about not maybe someone not wanting to buy right away. They want to buy in the next maybe 6 months. And they definitely don't want to get together with you right now. So what could you say to handle that? You know, what concerns me about that is waiting too long to meet up, is that there's a lot that we need to do to set you up for success. And one thing I would say is, because you're going to be buying in 6 months, that's exactly why we need to get together. Guys, I probably say that, handler, in about everything I say. Oh, not for 6 months? Perfect. That's exactly why we have to get together. Like, just agree with them, get on their side. And I've used that so many times. The other magic words we've talked a little bit about, most clients are so glad that they met with me early, right? Most people are so glad. Magic words there. When they say, you know, I don't want to buy for a long time, so maybe even a year, that's okay, you guys. Set an appointment. Set an appointment. And perfect. I'm so glad you don't want to buy for another year. That's exactly why we need to get together. Is to up that game. So let's get together. Does Tuesday or Thursday work? And that's your close. Let's see. Most of my clients were so glad that those are really powerful objection handlers as well. How about another one? Oh, I love this one. Oh, I know someone who's a realtor. Really? Shocker. Shocker. No, I'm not going to say that. Oh, I'm so glad you know someone. You know, there's about 18,000 of us in the area. And yeah, I'm not shocked that you know someone. Or maybe they say, I have a friend who's a realtor. And so what you need to do is affirm them. Other than having a friend who's a realtor, is there anything else that would keep you from meeting with me? And so this is maybe a handler for that. You know what concerns me the most about that? You guys hear those magic words? See them? They're there again. What concerns me the most about that is how many times relationships are ruined in this very important transaction because they entrusted this to a friend. Now, I know this relationship to you is very, very important. Now, one thing I can do is I can set up an arrangement with this friend of yours so that you can keep your relationship, and I can set up a referral for this friend. Like, you can offer to do that. Another thing you can do is if she actually brings the buyer, she gets paid too, and you can actually secure and keep that relationship intact. How about we get together and let's talk more about it? So what, that's something that I've used. Yeah, the other agent that I'm interviewing, it looks like she does a lot more business than you do, or she's done a lot more business in this area. And I kind of talked about that a little bit. So those are a couple of things. I'd love to know what you guys are facing. And I think we can learn a lot more from each other. So I'd love to collaborate a little bit. What objection are you facing? And it's not judgment, it's not condemnation. You just weren't able to overcome it and you didn't get that listing. That's where we need to talk. And by the way, that's why script practice and role play and dialing for dollars and calling for dollars is so critical, because we get to talk about this every day before we start dialing. So who has an objection that we can talk about? And let's see what we can learn from each other on. Anybody? Just unmute yourself and let me know. Erica, go ahead.
So a lot of the objections I'm getting are, I'm going to wait till the rates are lower so that I can price my house higher.
Okay. So that's a really good point. And on that point, are they going to be buying?
Yes.
So they're gonna sell, or are they buying or they're selling?
They're selling and buying. So I went to a listing appointment and he ended up saying he didn't want to sell because, the interest rates were too low. I mean, too high. So he's going to wait till they're too low because for example, he paid $850 for his house, and I don't know, the Zillow, all the stuff that he's looking up, his house is only worth $750 now. So he said he'll wait until the rates decrease. So then, that way he can sell his house for at least $800 rather than the $750 of whatever it is that it's being valued at.
Mm-hmm. So he's waiting for the rates to go down, so ultimately he can buy at a lower rate. Is that the point? Like he can sell, but then he can buy at a lower rate. Is that the point?
No, the point is he thinks there's not enough buyers out there that would pay for his house at $850 or $800 for how much he bought it for because of the rates. That's what he's,
Okay. Yeah. So one thing you can focus in on that is the listing inventory is so great for sellers right now, and it may not always be the case. And so anyway, the rates are, if they're going to go up and continue to go up, and the inventory is great for sellers right now, it's actually a better time to sell right now. And he could still buy at a lower rate in the future. So it's a matter of kind of understanding where they're coming from and how they can still win in this market with data that's true. Does that make sense? So if you knew what the inventory was today, then it still favors, does your inventory still favor the seller?
Yes.
Yeah. And do we know that's always going to be the case?
No, I don't
No.
know if that's always going to be the case.
Yeah, it's not always going to be the case. So it's a great time right now to sell because the inventory is so low. And if we got in the market now and actually got over, I don't know what your market is, but you guys, our inventory is still so low that houses that are priced right and houses that are staged right and marketed correctly, they're going in the first weekend for 20, 30, 40, 50,000 over list price. And it's because the inventory is so low still. And it's still a great opportunity for sellers. And it's not always going to be a great opportunity for sellers, but it is now. So Mr. Seller, I appreciate that. And I do know what the market's doing now. Right now, a house properly priced is going for over list price, and you can still buy at a lower rate. Conversation. Who else has any thoughts about that? Now, where are you, Erica? Where are you located?
I'm in Roseville. I'm with the Tom Daves team.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And you gotta figure out like, and it's gotta be true information. It's not that we're just car salesmen and we're gonna be slick and just sell a car to someone that doesn't need that car, right? It's gotta be true data because you've got to be authentic in integrity. Russ, what would you say to that?
Hey, Jackie, I would say I was in the middle of 9 things that didn't hear the question. I'm so sorry.
Who else has something? It's okay. That's okay. Who else has something that they'd like to add to that conversation?
I'm in the
Jackie,
same
this is-
market as Erica, and I would say that you have to look at it as one big transaction. Is that you're looking at selling a house, but you're also buying a house, but they come together. So it's whatever you're going to make extra on your net on the sale, you might actually lose. If the market changes and prices go up and you can sell your house for more, then the house you're going to buy is going to go up as well. The idea is trying to make this as convenient for you as possible so you can just move to the left or move up or wherever you want to go if you're going to stay local and take as much equity as you can. Because ultimately waiting for it to go up is a fool's errand because everything else is going to go up too. If you're buying another house.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we know what the market's doing now. And no one knows what it's going to be the future. We can probably forecast and kind of be able to tell what's happening. But right now, the inventory number is favoring the seller. And that means if we price it correctly, you're going to get the most for your house because the inventory is so low. And you can still buy at a lower rate because if rates still go up, they just went up a quarter point the other day. And if they keep going up, we don't know what that's going to hold. And so that's why I know what the market's doing. I'm a market expert of today's market. And I can tell you right now that sellers have the advantage. And I can help you win as a buyer as well. Yeah, I love it. I love it. What
Thank
else?
you.
Mario,
Hey, Jackie,
what were
I
you
got
gonna
something.
say?
Yeah, I was going to say that, it seems as though sometimes it's an information overload. One of the objections I have is periodically clients seem to feel or assert themselves as though they know more than realtors do. They follow, Redfin, they follow Zillow, they follow Realtor.com. They follow these and they take it as gospel truth as opposed to, having my hands in my market. And it's not all the time, but it definitely is an objection that I wanted to hear your perspective on.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate that, Mario. And it's very, very true. And that's why I believe we need to be armed with some market stats that are real, because most agents can say sellers have the advantage, right? Most agents can say rates are going up. Most agents can say houses are selling. It's taking longer to sell a house, right? Most agents can say that, and most consumers. And Mario, I completely agree with you, but realize that most people most of the clients, they're about 6 months. They're kind of starting to believe and hear about yesterday's market. Not today. So when you walk in and say, yes, the inventory is 1.7 months. Houses in this community are listed on the average sales price is $768,000, right? When you come in with some actual statistics, houses now are selling in 26 days as opposed to 19 days 6 months ago. So when you come in with those statistics, it's going to help you to be the market expert. And that's certainly more than the average agent comes in with, is being that market expert. And you guys,
agree.
You can look in your MLS and you don't have to memorize all the stats, but just get to know a few of them and you won't believe how that's going to come out in your conversations. for sure. I love it. What's another objection that you guys are facing?
Hey, Jackie, I'm your coach here. Good morning,
Hey.
guys. You just actually, after I raised the hand, you just caught on some of those lines that I wanted to say. We have to be aware what's going on with the market. We have to be full of stats for our own market, because it looks like, as lately as Mario said, our sellers are armed with all the Zillow and Redfin open door, and it looks like we are so desperate in this market that we are the listeners, and we're so desperate. We want to do those listings no matter what. Just give me the listing, and therefore we lose our professionalism, we lose our integrity, and we lose. Then we actually show them that we are bad negotiators. That's the one of the reasons that I always ask them. I say, okay, you don't want me, you're calling somebody else to list a house, and yet you want to buy a house with me. So how come you're confident 50% of your needs and you don't want to list with me? And then I pulled the stats, open door and Redfin. I mean, how much they sell and how long they stay in the market. And this is, you could go into your MLS and show them, and people like the stats today. We live in a world of information, and everybody loves as many data available to them as possible.
Yeah. And you guys, I would say too, on that note is figure in our MLS, we can do it. I know you can do it in yours, is figure out their community statistics, because they might be kind of impressed that I might know that the average home is $768,000 in our market. But Jackie, I think our homes are worth more, right? They want to know. And if you come in with the neighborhood stats, like the average price in Centennial Acres is, 585,000, and they sell in 13 days, and they get on average 25 showings. Like you may not even sold a house in that community, but people, that is one trend, is consumers are very localized. They want to know what's happening in my neighborhood, what's happening in my community here. And when you walk in with those statistics, you're setting yourself high above the average agent who just says, yeah, it's taking longer to sell a house. Yeah, they're going up. You're like, duh. Anyway, what's another objection, you guys? Let's take one more objection and handle it together that someone has that you're facing. Anybody? And as we're kind of thinking about it, I really encourage you. This is something that I do with the clients that I coach, is know your numbers. Know your numbers. How many dials versus how many conversations versus how many appointments set versus how many appointments I'm gone on versus how many signed agreements. And I do this with my coaching clients because we're always upping the game. It looks like you're at 20% of dials to phone calls. Congratulations, that's up. Knowing your numbers is so crucial. And that's why, you guys, I tracked my numbers, appointments gone on to listings signed, that I can tell you right now, I was at 90%. And I kept upping my game. And it was largely through knowing what to say when they present an objection, and inviting it and embracing it. Because I had a seller the other day, actually just closed on it. And they actually asked me, and I'd love to know what you guys would have said. They asked me, Jackie, should we interview other agents? What would you have said? Anybody? What would you have said? Should I interview?
Jackie, I personally would have reminded them that not all agents are equal, that some agents have different experience, and I would just capitalize on, activity and effectiveness, as opposed to, like somebody said a minute ago, being so desperate that you're willing to sell your firstborn just to get a listing.
I know. I agree. I love it. That's a great point. In this case, what I said is absolutely. And I'm still going to earn your business because you're going to see that no one cares more and no one works harder. No one's going to outwork me and no one's going to care more. And I came forward with expertise in the real estate market and I earned that listing. And so, you know, however you guys want to position yourself, you've got to position yourself as an expert and just know and embrace those objections that come forward. Let's see, I think we had a few people in chat here. I want to see. Yeah, know your numbers, percentage of price. Yeah, days on market. Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Kim. What should I say, magic word for client asking for half of the commission back? Interesting. Okay. What that basically they want us to give them a kind of a credit, right, at closing for half of the commission. Boy, that's a good one. I don't know that I've ever been presented that one. It's pretty similar to half of the commission. Are they buyers? B Haven, who's that? Are you talking about a buyer or a seller?
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
Okay. So a seller asking for half of their commission back. Okay. Which is essentially you giving half of your commission up, right?
Correct.
So you know what concerns me about that is if an agent's willing to have half of their commission, is if they're that willing to give their commission up, how strong of a negotiator are they going to be for your money? So I think that's a really big point. If I give up half of my commission, how am I going to fight tooth and nail for all the money you deserve in this business? I will tell you that I'm worth the full commission. And if I deplete my commission up front, I have no negotiating power when we get through inspection and all that. So I think there's different ways to handle that. But I definitely think that the argument that if I say, okay, I'll give you half my commission, how much am I going to fight for your money if I'm that willing to give up half of my money?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the follow-up on that side is that people says that, okay, this is anyway seller market and homes is going very fast. So you guys don't have to work so hard or doing so much. So, and every other agent, especially in Bay Area, every other agent is giving it back. So why you are so much hesitant to give me back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you guys, that's not entirely true, right? Because most consumers think that that's all we do is the 3 Ps. We put it on the MLS, we put a sign in the yard, and then we kind of sit back and pray that someone else will bring the buyer. Well, I do the 4th, 5th, and 6th P. I will professionally market this property. I will proactively look for your buyer myself. And I will provide some professional staging advice. So I do the 4th, 5th, and 6th P, and I don't expect extra commission. And that's why I deserve the full commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just some thoughts. Okay, guys, how would you handle a seller saying Redfin charges 1% listing fee? Can you match that? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, that is a little bit of a farce, right? They do it's actually 3.8, right? If they're paying the buyer's agent 2.8, correct? So most consumers don't know that. They just think it's 1%, and then they get the bill at closing day and they're paying 3.8. So 1% is a little bit of a farce on that, but the listing fee of 1% is you're not going to get the listing attention that you deserve, because you're going to be handed off to a system. And you'll probably never hear from that agent again, if barely, maybe. So you're not going to get your questions answered, and we've seen a lot of frustration by sellers in that environment. So I don't know. Any other thoughts, you guys, before we close? I hope this was valuable. You guys, that's why we want to jump on to Dialing for Dollars in 3 minutes. I just had mine and I set one appointment. And so we do that on Mountain Time as well, just a little bit earlier. But Dialing for Dollars is starting in 3 minutes, and that's where you can get in and do some script practice and role play, and maybe go over some objections that you guys are facing in that environment. So I love it. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for joining.
Hey,
I hope you
Jackie.
got some value. Yes,
Jackie, I understand you have some openings on your calendar for coaching. Is that correct?
I do. I have 2 openings on my calendar. And again, it's all about locking arms with agents who want to increase their production and add a dose of accountability. No matter if you want to do production or even revenue share, and attract some agents, we can help there too. So yeah,
What
thanks
would
so
be the
much,
best way
Eric.
to get in touch with you
Yeah,
to get signed up?
It's Jackie. Just email me, Jackie works for you at gmail.com. And we can have a conversation and talk more. And I'll
Thank you.
put that in my in the chat box there. So yeah, just reach out and let me know what I can do to help you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All
All
right.
right. And as you guys
Thanks,
know, Tom is
Jackie.
king. So he wanted me to let everybody know that you've got your inspiration. Time to put in the perspiration.
Yeah,
Have a good weekend.
thanks so much, guys.
Have a good one.